That's so neat how it just lets you know. So hello everyone. If you don't know myself, I am Brianna Ross, the Office and Events Coordinator for the Small Business Center. And today we have Jenny Moore here talking about how to optimize your business with time management. So some key objectives that we're going to kind of go over today is setting expectations to manage your time bank, and effective time blocking to increase your productivity, and using technology to optimize your communications. Jenny Moore is the founder and accounting influencer for More Details Incorporated. And today she is graciously taking an hour out of her day to help kind of explain using time management in a positive way for your business, and utilizing that time as well. So you're already doing it right now, taking time out of your day to help make yourself and your business more successful. And again, I'd like to introduce Jenny Moore.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Brianna. It's a pleasure to be here and to be a little local. So I am located here in Belleville, although our client base is throughout Canada and the United States. And recently been working with the Small Business Center for some of these amazing grants that are out. So really have had a lot of fun and thought, hey, I am a presenter. I have a lot of topics that I speak about publicly, sometimes human to human in conferences when those are available. And most of them have been over the last, year and a half have been like this, Zoom, virtual. So today we are going to talk about how to optimize your business with time management. Like Brianna said, I am the founder of More Details Inc. Yada, yada, yada. There's so many great things about it. Basically, what we do is we make bookkeeping simple. So we leverage the latest in technology, just like you have apps for your phone, you have apps for your systems now. And our three pillars are to work with individuals and companies that are in e-commerce, digital agencies, consultants, and anybody really. But those are the three that we really specialize in. And like I said, the biggest thing we do is manage the technology side and make sure there's good data for good data flow. But how does time management and maybe some of these other topics you probably haven't heard, but some of the other topics I've talked about come into play? Well, that is very much from the grassroots of getting started and working with my own business and really working through what a lot of people would call are the softer skills. So I'll talk about things like effective communications, time management, managing scope, business, work-life harmony, which is a myth anyways, but we try and balance it anyways, and all this good stuff. So like I said, I am located here in Belleville. I have 3 kids, 2 dogs, 3 cats, an amazing patient husband. And in my spare time, I'm actually an adult figure skater here within the Quinny Club and also in the Ice Wine synchro team that is out of Picton. So for those that are interested in that. I also like drumming. I'm taking drumming lessons. My kids are into music, so that's been really funny. And I also just like doing anything adventurous. So this past weekend, I went zip lining in Cobden, 3,000 feet in the air. My kids loved it because I screamed the entire way towards what looked like certain death, but it was a lot of fun. So I'm able to have this work-life quasi-balance thing because I do this, just time management. And hopefully today I'll be able to help you in understanding a little bit more and how you can effectively manage time and to really understand what time is. Okay, I know you see it on the clock. You might be looking at it on your watch right now, or my Fitbit that's telling me that it's time to get up and walk 200 steps right now. But time management is so crucial, not only for us in our personal life, but in our professional life as well. And so let's get started. The key objectives are, setting expectations. So setting expectations is really important when it comes to time management. We'll talk through that. Effective time blocking. I'll give you some great examples as to how I do that effectively. And then also leveraging technology. I think it goes without saying, especially with the disruption that's been going on because of COVID and things having to be more electronic and virtual and remote. Technology is a key player into helping us ensure that we are having these optimal experiences within our business. And it really is those tools that help us, stop focusing on the mundane tasks and focus on just getting stuff done, which is the core of what you do for a living, or maybe it's just spending more time with your kids at home. So a little bit further, I've had 1 cup of coffee. So this is me talking fast after 1 cup of coffee. Hopefully it's not too fast, but we have a lot of content to cover. And I'd like to just keep the pace. And if you do have a question, put it in the chat. I'll try and reach in there once in a while and look at it. But Brianna, you have full audio rights to say, Time out, Jenny, we have a question. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so step one is really setting the expectations. So for me, let me take you like back in time. Like I just got off a client call and we talk about going back in time in the DeLorean. So those that are, Back to the Future kind of fans, I like the DeLorean reference, which is that vehicle that was a time capsule, right? So if I were to go back into that DeLorean back in time 16 years ago when I started my practice, I would say that I really sucked at time management. I didn't and really was horrible at setting expectations. At that time, I was a new mom, then, a mom of two and a mom of three with a growing business. And the reason why I started my own business is because I wanted to be my own boss and I wanted to call the shots and I wanted more flexibility. But what turned out is I got the reverse. I got less flexibility. I didn't have one boss. I had many bosses because they were clients. I wasn't setting expectations with them. And I had these kids. Although I have a very supportive husband, you can imagine on a very personal level. So I speak on a very personal level what that had for my mental outlook and what that had for me on a physical side of just handling that type of postpartum experience. So when it came to that crashing point, this is where I really realized, girl, you got to get your stuff together. And I really had to think about what I was choosing to do for my life. Where did I want to go? And the only way I was going to get there was some of the tactics I'm going to show you today, but it was managing this. And that is time. And I want you to start, I'm going to start peppering this in your head right now. Think of time like a bank, like a piggy bank. Like, if you're saving up for that trip to Disney World and you're putting a loonie in every day, that's probably not gonna be enough money, but you know what I mean, right? So like you're saving up, you're doing something, it's a monetary value. Time may not be a monetary value. You can charge in time, but it's still a limited value. Okay, and I'll explain that a little bit more. So here's a great little quote from David Allen. It is, if you don't pay appropriate attention to what has your attention, it will take more of your attention than it deserves. Now, for the mom, right, it's exact same thing. And this applies to all areas, whether you have children or not, whether you have fur babies like I do. If you have something, a squeaky wheel in your life, and it's just constantly taking your attention, you're just going to do what that squeaky wheel wants. You're just looking at that attention, and it's going to take more and more and more of your attention. Business is about growth. Business is selfish. Business is about that. So you have to be very intent on where you spend your time and what has your attention. Like right now, you have my direct attention. I have Slack that's turned off, which is how I communicate with my team and some of the other brands I work with. Email is shut down. Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff, it's off to the side because in this space right now, you have my attention. I am not going to divert that to someone else. So start thinking, I really speak a lot about mindsets. This is where I want you to start thinking about your mindset. So think about who has your attention and how much are they taking and is it deserving? It's not to say that you can say to your kid, hey, stop, whatever, stop crying, all this good stuff, and you're just going to leave. Maybe you do if you need a timeout. I've done that before. But you really need to think on a compassionate level about your time. And it is time to be selfish. I'll be honest with you. I'm going to teach you how to be politically selfish because you need to work on your life and your goals and your business and and really think about where that's going to take you and stop being so reactive to other people's needs. Okay. And it may sound strange saying that as a Canadian, as a woman, but believe me, it is important. So a lot of this is the step one, which is setting expectations. And for me, what I really would like you to think about is time, that piggy bank, it's a time bank. Okay. There's only 24 hours in a day, right? Last I checked, I couldn't get more. Okay. I could go to bed early and get less, but you can't get any more than that. The day resets. Like that's it. That is your bandwidth. Okay. It's like your financial budget. There's only so much money in the bank account. That's all you got. We don't have overdraft when it comes to time. Okay. And so what you really need to do is be the master of those minutes. You need to determine, how are you going to spend your minutes? How are you going to spend your time? Who has your attention? Okay. And sometimes people think, well, that sounds so selfish. And yeah, okay, if we want to identify it as being selfish, then it's selfish. Okay. But you have your goals in life, and it doesn't mean that you cannot be something for somebody else. Like, I'm a fantastic mom. My kids may question that every once in a while when I deny them all the sweets and chocolate they want. But I'm a fantastic mom. I'm a great businesswoman. I'm very confident and assertive. And I'm able to do that because I have these boundaries. I'm able to express these expectations. Okay. So, what's really important is for you to know your limits. You need to determine how much time you can dedicate to, in this case, let's say a client. Okay. So, depending on where you are in business, or maybe it's a personal thing, whatever the case is, it could be a charity. Maybe you donate some time to. I've done a lot of that with like a mom and tots group and all this good stuff, even coaching figure skating for free. You really have to know your limits. What is it that you can do? What are you willing to spend to do that charitable activity? Okay. And I'm going to teach you effective ways to say, I think, to say no within this presentation as well. But you really do need to know your limits, because if you don't know your limits, you're going to end up on a crash cart. You will. You're going to hit that wall, and you're going to just be saying yes to everyone right down to your last breath. And that's not the way to live. So, setting healthy limits, knowing where you're going to spend your time bank is important, not only for your own mental health, because nobody wants to see you, run into a bad situation mentally and physically because you haven't been able to do this thing called time management. Okay. So, know your limits, and that's super important. The other thing that I have for you, remember the pinky swear? Pinky swear you're going to do this, mom. Pinky swear you're going to take me to the park. Whatever the case is don't overpromise. If you feel in your hearts of hearts that you're starting to go past your limits, call it out. Call it out. Like, even yesterday with one of the big brands I work with, we have 3 billable days before the end of the month, and they want more because I'm really good at what I do, and they wanted more. They wanted more time, and I had to say no. I can't effectively put together this rock star presentation and write this stellar blog if I'm going to have to do these as well. I cannot promise you that, because this is the core focus. And I effectively said no. And it was understood, right? This is a leadership team that's in a global organization. And I felt confident saying, I can't do that. I'm working on this casework, and if I can do it, I will, but I'm not going to promise you that I'm going to do that. Okay. So get really comfortable with not over promising. If you have a gut feeling, like, if you know the gut feeling, right? Like, to me, my gut is my decision maker, right? So if you feel in your gut like you really shouldn't be doing this, Jenny, you're taxing yourself out. Remember that time bank, you only have 24 hours. When are you going to do this? That's your body telling you, hold up, reevaluate. And sometimes it just takes something like, I need to take some time to think about that. At least I know with my 3 kids, because I tell you, they're like hungry little gremlins and they're beautiful children. But as a parent, they always want more because we're amazing parents, right? We care about our kids. We want to give them the best in life. But sometimes it's just like, you know what? Hold the phone there, Tasha. I need some time to think about this and focus on this. And I really need some time to think about making that promise and that commitment. And my children have come to understand that. Like, okay, mom's going to take some time to think about it. She's not just slushing it off, but I'm setting those expectations. And that's one thing I really want you guys to start doing. The other thing you need to think about is, what are some of those potential obstacles? So, depending on what you're doing for a living or what you're doing personally, you know that things are never perfect. If they are, it's like, what sci-fi movie am I in? Because it's like things never go off perfect. So, always perceiving what are some of these obstacles, because if you're going through life expecting that everything's going to be perfect in every scope and every job that you do, it's not. There's always going to be hiccups. There's going to be, the tire is going to fall, or not, hopefully not fall off the car. Hopefully you've tightened your lug nuts, but maybe you get a flat, or, maybe you're doing a presentation and Zoom acts up. I had that happen this week. What are the roadblocks, and are you going to have adequate time to reposition, recalibrate, and resolve them? So, making sure you give yourself enough buffer time between tasks. Let me give you an example. With what I do for a living, I effectively communicate with so many people, not only my own client base at more details, but with brands, and just helping people out. Like, sometimes I get a call from a mom, like, I really need a walk. I need to get out of the house. Can we do this? I'm like, yeah, but it has to be 7 o'clock on Thursday. Okay, that's great. So we'll do that. But you really need to be able to look at these obstacles and reposition yourself for them. And what I do is, I don't plan back to back meetings. I don't. I plan buffer time between them, not only just to like mentally come down from a meeting and make sure I've really resonated and thought about the content or and the strategy behind it, but maybe to take notes and maybe to get myself prepared for the next meeting. That way I come across not only as polished and professional, yeah, that's the selfish ego side, but it's my mental outlook. Because if I'm going bang, 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 meeting after meeting, at some point I'm going to burn out and I'm going to get a little type A on someone, right? So really look at your obstacles, giving yourself enough time to recoup, recalibrate, and all this good stuff. Now, for me in the bookkeeping world, when things are perfect, and we run really good systems, we're able to meet milestones. Like you have your HST return due at the end of this month if you're a quarterly client, or maybe you have uh, your tax return that needs to be done. Whatever case is, when things are perfect, they work out pretty well. But sometimes we deal with some pretty messy stuff, right? And then even with some of the brands I work with, sometimes we're dealing with some messy stuff too with their content strategy. So in this case, I find it really helpful, instead of saying, I will absolutely have this done for you by July 22nd. Is it today the 22nd? I really hope it is. 22nd, close a business. Okay. That's a really hard stop. Like you're setting a really big expectation. By the end of today, you're going to have a big scope of work done. That's not good for you, man. It's not. So for me, what I tend to do is when I'm dealing with, like we have clients come to us with backlogs of data from like, I swear, sometimes 1999. But, is it realistic that we're going to solve the entire scope and close a business that day? No. So we plan out a project with flexible deadlines and milestones, right? So it's not like we're going to have it all done by this date. It's like we're going to have a milestone here, here, and here. And this milestone will be completed on this date if you participate in giving us all the information. Okay, so also keeping other people accountable is important as well. So I find flexible deadlines work out really well. Now, this is the big thing. In our business, I'm all about communication. Effective communication is super important to avoid any confusion. It just gets stuff done. Like if we're relying on the telephone and emails for communication, yeah, those are great. But sometimes it's like if I'm doing an email that's more than like even like, I don't know, 50 words. I get on a Zoom call. Like I schedule it. I have effective time management. I do schedule it with the client. I'm like, listen, we need to hop on a call just to make sure we understand everything, rather than doing all these emails back and forth. And then they get slightly passive aggressive and then everyone gets tired and then they just give up. No, maintain open communication, do that face to face, virtual Zoom, whether it's Google, whatever else is out there. I don't even know if people use Skype anymore. I know it's meant for Microsoft Teams, but whatever the case is, effective communication is really, really important. So here are some things I do when setting expectations. Now, whether you do this within your business or your personal life, whatever the case may be, for me, within my business, I provide what's called a service guarantee. So I will say to my clients, we have this in our engagements even, we will respond to your electronic communications, okay? Because I've trained all my clients, give me electronic communications because I have a virtual team and we tackle a problem this way, okay? We don't rely on a telephone and phone tag to kind of figure out a problem. We want it written out and we'll get it resolved. So our service guarantee is to resolve a client's inquiry within 24 to 48 hours, 9 to 5 Eastern Standard Time, Monday to Friday during a normal work week. Okay. But guess what? We also expect our clients to do the same. So we don't want to be waiting 3 months for a bank statement or something like that. We're expecting them to also effectively communicate back. So if you're in business, sometimes your roadblock is your client. And you need to train your client about effective communications, because if you don't effectively communicate, it is one of the biggest time sucks you'll have out there. Okay. How many people have like eons of emails right now? Anybody? Like you just put it in the chat. Like if your inbox is like this, that's time management issues. Okay. So it's really important to think about that. Now, the other thing is what we do with our work, again, it might be different depending on what you're doing. Somebody's making crayons, so it might be a little bit different, but our scope, we define our scope early in what's called a discovery call. So with our clients, it's like, we don't wait to start doing the work to find out what the problem is. It's kind of like, it's kind of hard because it's not like you just have a contractor to start renovating your bathroom and then you start going, yeah, I want this, this, and this. No, that renovator, that contractor wants to know your scope. They want to know the type of tile you have. Is it a walk-in shower? Is it a tub? What size of toilet? what kind of sink, do you want copper? Do you want plastic? Do you want built in the wall? Whatever the case is. So you really need to think about how that scope is going to be defined with that client right off the bat. Okay. What is that client's expectations, and make sure it's really rounded out well, because if you don't define that scope, and we can speak for 2 hours on this, but I'll spare you the details. If you don't define exactly what you're going to be doing for a client, it's going to suck up a lot of your time, and it's going to cause communication issues. It's going to cause some friction, and somebody's going to churn. Somebody's going to give up on somebody, right? And that's really difficult when you think about how hard it is maybe to get business and get a great client, get a great relationship. You want to maintain them. So to do that, effective communications. Now, if you do work with a team, like employees, like I have a virtual team, and believe it or not, there's 3 employees I've never met face to face. Can you believe that? I've never met these employees face to face. They're virtual. Same with my clients. There's several clients I've never met face to face. They're all virtual. So how do we maintain getting stuff done and being as amazing as we are? Well, we have what's called daily huddles. Sometimes we call them daily cuddles if the day's going bad, but we are effectively communicating with our team on a regular basis. Every morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're all hopping on a Zoom call, and we're tackling what we call our hairy gorillas. Okay. What are the hairy gorillas? What's hanging around in our casework? How are we going to get it done? What's the roadblocks? Is there a client issue? Is it a tech issue? Let's get it resolved now. Okay, so we're proactive, not reactive. So if you have team members, if you have employees, you need to think about how you're communicating with them as well, because they are the front line of delivering that service, that product, that experience for your customers. Okay. Now, the other thing I do about setting expectations, I'm big on goal setting, and we'll get into that in a minute. Like I literally, like I am like nerdy here. And this is like the only paper I have is journaling and goal setting. Everything else I do is digital, electronic. I don't even have a printer in my office. I don't use a printer. I don't have paper other than journaling. So for me, in order to have a successful business, in order to really excel in my happiness, right? What's upstairs here, my happiness in life, I need to figure out how I'm spending my time, right? It's like cash. How am I spending my time? And I can only feel satisfied in life if I start writing out what my goals are. Now, I'm not talking about 10 years goals. If you're totally like that, that's cool too. I usually work in a 3-month goal system, and I slam them over and over again. I get them done because in those 3 months, that is my priority. Like the Small Business Center helped me launch my new website, moredetails.ca. Now, we still have some work to do because the fonts went a little crazy on us, and I apologize if you're going there right now. But the Small Business Center helped us with the grant to get this done. By the way, it was done through Big Red Bow. It was amazing. So if you have an opportunity to do this, you should totally do it. But that was one of my goals for this quarter, was to launch a website. Okay. And we nailed it. Well, with the fonts, we didn't nail it, but we got really close. We're live now, at least. So these are things that really help you. And you can only do that when you start setting expectations and managing time. So in the chat, can you, maybe Brianna, you're probably getting the answers here. I'd like to know, out of the people that are here, are you comfortable with saying no? Anybody comfortable saying no?
I don't have anything yet.
You don't even think they're so shy. Maybe they're sleeping. Maybe I should have had the second cup of coffee. I
said no, but I'm trying. Rarely, depends on the situation.
Yeah, it's hard, right? And this is your secret. Like, we don't have to be saying like no in like a passive aggressive, irky, prima ballerina way. Like, no. I'm meaning like effective ways to say no, right? Because there's so many people that can draw upon you for your time because you're amazing, right? You're amazing at what you do. Right? Everybody's amazing. Everyone has a superpower, and people are naturally gravitated to other people to solve their problems because of their superpower. And sometimes when you're that superhero, I mean, I don't know about you. I don't know how Superwoman does it, right? Like, like you got to say no at some point because you're going to end up on that crash cart. You will. So effectively saying no is really, really, really important. So what are some effective ways to say no? What are some things that I have done over the years to say no? And I really hope this is going to work here. Okay, so I think you're going to get a copy of the deck today. So if you find that these work for you, like even putting them on a sticky note and putting them on your screen, this is what helped me, because I get slammed with a lot of asks, right? Like not only from clients, from my kids, like they'll text me like, hey, can you pick up maple syrup on the way home? I'm like, we make maple syrup. We have maple trees. There's tons of it in a jar, right? But like, there's all this stuff. Everyone's going to want your time and your energy. And it's up to you to own how you're going to spend it, right? And how you're going to spend it. It's just like money. It's no different than money. Time is money, right? In a way, if you want to think about it. Once it's gone, right? Like with money, at least you have the chance of making more money and you can lose money. But with time, you can't make more time. So once this moment, like how long have we been in this? 27 minutes. You've spent 27 minutes. It's spent. Hopefully it's been spent to the betterment of how you're going to be moving forward. But you have spent 27 minutes of your time today with me, which I think is awesome. So thank you. So that's how I want you to start thinking about your time. Think of it like, where do you want to spend it? And there's no coupons. Okay. So for me, here's a couple of things that have been helpful. Sometimes we get asked to do certain things in our business, like maybe it's a marketing initiative, maybe it's something else. I'm like, that's a great fit. That's a great idea, but it's just not a fit for our organization. And what I find by saying effectively no through this means right off the bat is I'm stopping those reactive sales calls coming back to me, right? Like everyone has them. If you can't effectively say no, guess what happens? You stay on that hot lead list or that ask list that somebody needs. So you need to effectively say no. So this is one. That's a great fit. That's a great idea, but not a fit for our organization. Okay, here's another one. So if it's an idea like, hey, Jenny, like I feel like we can, do this together. It's, we'll solve world hunger. And I'm totally about that, by the way. But like, there's some things you can do, and sometimes you may be having other initiatives too. So one sticky note thing might be your idea sounds interesting. It would be better suited for. Okay, so like maybe there's another organization that's already doing this type of initiative. Maybe there's already business doing this. Maybe there's already, something that's out there. It's be fair to say it like there's somebody else doing this better, or there's somebody else already in this space. And and you have to look at yourself. Is this where you want to be? So you can't be somewhere just because somebody else wants you to be there. You have to want to be there. And if you're not wanting to be in that other space, call it out. It'd be better suited for this. Okay. Another effective way to say no is thanks for connecting with me on your offer. So this is like always about sales, right? High pressure sales. At the present time, we don't have a need for such, but we'll keep you in mind. Okay, so you're not being a total like irky. Like we're going to keep you in mind. Maybe down the road we do need this. Okay, but right now we don't. And you're effectively saying no to that salesperson, and that salesperson's going to appreciate it because they're going to be like, we're just going to keep them on our nurture list, but I'm not going to call them every week thinking they're a hot lead ready to convert. Okay, so be very respectful of that because it's also the other person's time as well. Now, sometimes it's a cause. There's a lot of charity things that are out there, and I love them. I feel like there's a lot of need in this world, but you yourself cannot solve everything. So you need to pick something that you're passionate about. Okay, whatever that case may be, maybe it's through church, maybe it's through coaching some sort of sport, whatever it is. This is one thing you can say, like, I really admire your cause, but now I'm already committed to another initiative. Okay, you don't have to explain yourself. People, especially women, okay, I'm going to pick on us ladies in the room. Sometimes we feel like we have to explain ourselves or justify ourselves. You don't. It's your time. Okay, so being able to clearly say, I'm already committed to another initiative. And you don't need to prove or justify that response to anybody else. Okay, I know that sounds total like, oh my gosh. Okay, and some people are kind of interested because, like, for instance, with kids, for instance, or even some of my employees when I'm first training them, they see me as being like the Dalai Lama of everything. Like, oh, but your mom, oh, but you must know everything. I do not know everything. Are you kidding me? So, rather than people coming to me with I even do this with clients. They're like, they come to me with all these problems. Some problems I can own and take on. Like I had one for a digital agency. I just got off the call with her. I'm like, you know what? We're going to handle this. We can handle it so much faster than you can. It's just going to get done. It's going to get done right. And it's going to look amazing. We're going to handle this. But if it's something that I know that the other person can do for themselves, like brush their teeth, right? Or take a picture of their receipt to scan it through the receipt capture system we have, I'm not going to do that for them. Okay, I teach independence. I have 3 very strong independent children, right? They're all women. I love it. But you want to give them their power back. And how you can do that is, have you thought about using this approach to solve your problem? Indicating that it's not your problem. Just because everyone else is having a problem doesn't mean it's yours. Now, you can be a compassionate person, step in and help out, like I did with this digital agency. I'm like, no, I got this. This is something I want to do, right? This is something it's going to help us in our internal processes as well. So you bring it on. But if it's something to where you know another person can do it, and they're maybe just being a little passive, seeing if you can do the work for them. For insert, boss horror stories here, maybe not, but this is a great approach. Have you thought about using this approach to solve your problem? Okay. And you're empowering them, you're giving it back to them, all this good stuff. Now, the other way that I'm able to manage time is through time blocking. So I don't know, you probably can't see it. I time block. Yes, on a piece of paper. I also have a digital calendar. But for me, I time block. I time block my day. I sit down every Sunday night and I write out my week. And yes, I budget time for emergencies. There's always going to be a little hiccup where, my team needs me or a brand needs me or something's happening. I'm not going to block every minute. I'm going to create some of that white space to handle those emergencies. But I'm planning out what I'm doing that week that's in line with my goals. Okay? I'm not just walking in Monday morning without a battle card. No, I have a battle card. Even my husband knows. Okay, mom's off to work. She's gone. She's eyes are looking forward and she's going to go rule the day. And when she comes back, she's going to be on deck for us. We're going to have fun. And that's just the way it is, because it's effective time management. This is what I'm doing within these time frames. And time blocking is a really important tool that I would recommend that you do. So if you want to be more productive, you need to be the master of your minutes. So Crystal Payne, she's really neat. She's like a mommy blogger and she's really fun. But you really need to be the master of your minutes. How are you going to spend your minutes? Right? How are you going to spend it? Think of it like money, because you're not getting any of it back. Okay. So whether you sleep, gardening, you're with your dog or your kids, or you're zip lining or meeting with a client, how are you spending those minutes? And do they align with the goals that you want to feel happy in life, to feel successful? Okay. That's the stuff that keeps the upstairs clean. So what I really want you to get out of this time today, if it's anything, it's this screen right here. So like, I know I get very excited when I talk, but it's this screen. This is the screen I really want you to focus on. That time is a non-replenishable resource. Once time is spent, it's gone. You are not getting these, 35 minutes back. You're not. There's no refund. Okay. So you can always make more money, but you can't make more time. And this is what I really want you to start thinking is, how you're going to spend it. So do you ever wish you had more time? Even with my time blocking, sometimes I wish I had more time. I do. I had to, do some emergency work last night. I was up till midnight, getting some casework done. We had an e-commerce issue for a client with some big data issues. Well, yeah, I did that. I created that space, put the kids to bed, even though they didn't want to go to bed. I could go to bed, and I was in my little home office, huddled there in front of my laptop, figuring this out. We got it done. But you need to really create these boundaries, right? So how are you going to spend the time in your day is really important. So you don't need more time in your day. You need to decide. Okay. You don't need more hours in your day. That's not the solution, because so many people are like, oh, I wish I had more time. Oh, I wish there's more hours in a day. Okay, wake up. It's not that. It's that you need to decide. Maybe there's somebody else coming into your timetable and you're meeting their goals, not yours. Okay. And that's important. It's important to say, those are your goals. That's your initiative. Maybe one of those effective ways to say no is something that needs to come in. So you're not a maid, you're not a slave, you're not out there to serve, 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 serve. You're here on this earth to have an experience. And you can only have an experience when you are looking inwards to see, what do you want to do with your life? And that's how you create happiness. Okay. So time management is super important to do that. So your time bank, what is your time bank? What is your time budget? It's 24 hours. Okay. Treat it like money. Exchange time for moments that matter. And I want you to think about, for the rest of the day, just have this as a little exercise for the rest of the day. I won't get too naggy, but this is your call to action after my time with you today. Is how are you going to spend the rest of your time? Okay, start thinking about every moment that you're bringing in. Think of it in 30-minute intervals. That's what I do. 30-minute intervals. Maybe you want to pick an hour interval. How are you going to spend your time today? And hopefully I've peppered you enough to start thinking about goals. So what I like to do is I like to create that time budget. As I mentioned, like I'm writing out every Sunday night, I sit down with a cup of tea, and I write out how I'm going to spend my week. And it is ironclad. It does not change. Someone else's lack of planning is not my emergency. I will create space to help people if it makes sense to help them within that space. I will create that. But my job on this earth is not to be reactive to everybody's needs. My job is to feel fulfilled and to be happy and to create a product or a service and experience not only for myself, but for my family and everyone else I come into contact with. So it's really important. So, look at your goals, look at those actionable tasks, right? Um, Really what's important to me as a business owner is documenting. So documenting how I want something done, training employees on how to do it, and delegating it. Okay, so if you're in the bootstrap mode and you're doing the side hustle, you probably don't have this, but think about that 5-year plan. Okay, where do you want to be? Do you still want to be doing exactly what you're doing right now in 5 years, or do you want somebody else helping you? Maybe you want an admin helping you. Maybe you want an employee, a salesperson helping you. Well, that's why it's really important to start documenting what exactly you do and how you expect it to be done so that you're able to bring in someone to help you, because you are going to need help. You cannot run a business all by yourself. You will need people to help you, whether they're employees or key stakeholders. It's important. And that's part of my role at More Details. We work with businesses on that financial feedback. We're working with them to say, this is why you're pulling in those awesome days, right? Where you're working really hard. This is why this is where the sweat equity is going. Look at the profit, look at where you're growing, keep going, focus on this. And this is the results of it. You're always going to need someone. Maybe you're going to need a lawyer if you're into patents. Maybe you're going to need something else. You're always going to need something, like even vendor relationships. So it's really important to do this kind of stuff. Okay, so there's different ways you can do goals. Some of you may be familiar with the SMART method. I'm a maverick, if you haven't guessed already. I like to do things a little differently, but for goals, like this is one. The SMART method is great. So you need to be specific. It needs to be measurable. It needs to be achievable. It needs to be relevant and timely. Like just to say, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna lose 30 pounds. Well, how are you gonna do that? Okay, how are you gonna do it? You can drink less alcohol? Are you gonna get up and get on the treadmill in the morning?
We
Are
have
you
a
gonna change your
comment
eating
here.
habits? Hmm.
We have a comment here. I love
Yeah.
this idea. I find that I am not very organized with my home/mom responsibilities and my home business.
Yep. Been there. Yeah. The best thing you can do is create the space. Now, hopefully, you're starting to develop what's called a support system, because you are going to need time to do that. Now, I remember breastfeeding and running payroll. Now, that may be a little bit TMI for some of you guys, but it's like you do as a mom, like you do need to create space to work on your business. Maybe you can exchange time with another mom that's also doing a side hustle to take care of the babe, but you need to create that space, right? You need to create that time, and time management is important. And also it's very important in the space that you work. So for speaking to that mom, like when I was first starting out, I was doing like the dining room table thing, and the kids were zipping around on the loudest freaking machines that Fisher Price could make. It was driving me nuts. The best thing you can do is try and find a space for your work that is not within the home unit. It doesn't mean going out of the home. For me, it was creating like an office space, even an office corner with like something like room dividers you can get off of Amazon. You need to create a barricaded space for your work. Also important to teach your kids, like this is work. Like I'm a bookkeeper. I was working with paper, for crying out loud. Well, kids love paper. And speaking to the crayons, they would come in with a fistful of crayons, right? So it's like really important that you create the space, and when in doubt, buy a door and put it on. But you do, and it doesn't mean you're a bad mom. Okay, so like speaking on that personal level, we get so much judgment as moms. There's a whole industry out there just vying on us. Never feel guilty for saying no. Never feel guilty for working on your business. Never feel guilty for that. And it's healthy to give your children boundaries. It's healthy to give your spouse or your living partner boundaries to say, this is what I'm working on. You just have to effectively communicate. You can't just sit down, start working, and expect your toddler to understand. You need to create the space for it, okay, and the time. Okay. So a couple of key things. I know we're getting at the top of the hour. So whenever you have your goals, you have your actionable tasks that come down with it. Like, okay, if I'm going to take on this client, I'm going to need this, 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 this. Write it out. Okay. On something. If you're familiar with Monday.com, I think I got a link I can give you guys. Monday.com is a great platform to keep things digital and, out of the paper. Because for me, I work with a virtual team, so all these tasks have to be virtual, right? It also trains you to keep things paperless and mobile so that you're out and about and you can look at your phone and go, oh yeah, this needs to be done, right? So whatever your actionable tasks are, make sure that they're digitized in some respect. Blocking the time in the calendar. Like I have a digital calendar, and with the brands I work with, I have another calendar where they can book time in, but it's blocked. Like they can only book time on 2 days a week, right? Within that. Okay, everything else gets rejected. So, and it's just setting healthy boundaries. I've never had anybody say to me, how dare you don't open up your calendar and make more space. Now I've had clients say to me, oh, your calendar looks a little busy. I really, really would appreciate a check-in call on this because we're planning on doing this. It's like, oh yeah, you're planning on changing your scope, your business model. We better book that up. Let me create some space for you and we'll do that. But never had I have anyone shame me, or nor would I tolerate it in the fact that I've created time in my calendar. Okay, the other thing is document, train, and delegate. So yeah, you may not be needing that right now, but you will in the future. You will need that, right? You are going to need that. So start thinking about how you're going to document how you want your product or service done from another person's point of view. Basically, everything you touch from this moment on, how is it recorded so that somebody can come in and do it? Okay. And if you train them really well and you have these resources, sometimes they do it better than you. Not the mindset of they won't do it good enough. My employees are amazing. And I like to say they are far smarter than me. But we have the document and the training in place for the basic structure, which is really important. Okay. And celebrate your wins. So with my goals, okay, I always have some sort of, after the 3 months, there's something I do. I love St. Anne's Spa. I don't know if any of you have ever been to St. Anne's Spa, but I love going to St. Anne's Spa just for a day and just sit there and eat like amazing food and have somebody like, give me a massage on my back and swim in the pool and, like just sit there and read with no children around. Like, like reward yourself. Okay. And it doesn't have to be expensive. Maybe it's something small. Like maybe you'll just, you're going to go and, buy that new tech. Like I'm all about my tech, right? So maybe it's like a low budget tech thing you're going to do, especially if you're bootstrapping, you're couponing and you're frugal. Still create something. Okay. Maybe it's a picnic with your family. Okay. Maybe, I don't know what it is, but everything you do and when you meet those goals, it's not enough just to go on to the next one. You won't feel satisfied. Celebrate your wins, okay? And we even do this within my team at more details. If we get all of our casework done within the current month, my team gets a paid day off the following month. So guess what happens? They're always working to get the work done because they know if they do, they get a paid day off. And I don't mind paying them for a day off. Why? Because we're gamifying, we're having fun, we're incentivizing that client experience and getting work done. So some of the journal options that you may have, some of you might be thinking, oh, this is great, but how? I use the best self journal. So that's kind of what this is. I mean, it's in a leather bound right now, but it's really neat. It has the affirmations of what I'm grateful for in the morning, what my goals are. I call them hairy gorillas, what my 3 frogs are for the day. If anyone's heard of frogs, eat your frog first and then get on with your day. Eat that ugly, disgusting frog first, get it out of the way. You'll feel better about getting your other tasks done. So there's usually 3 frogs that I have. Usually there's like an inspirational quote. And at night, I'm reflecting, what did I learn today? What did I learn? What were my wins? Celebrating my wins. And then, again, what am I grateful for? And so these are different things you can have. There's other systems as well. There's the Panda Planner. One of my clients gave me the High Focus Performance Planner. It's really neat too. There's the Full Focus Planner, and there's other things as well. Like these are just like options, right? at the end of the day, what you want to do is really think about how you're going to spend your minutes. And those minutes can only spent if they're in line with a goal to feel happy. Okay, so that's just giving you some ideas there as to how to
So
do that.
we have a
Yep.
comment here. I use Calendly
Hmm.
to let clients book their own meetings
Good,
times with me. I
good,
book off Monday and Friday so I can get my work done. But
good.
recently a client said you only work Tuesday to Thursday. I corrected them to let them know that it's the time that I set aside to get my job done, but I feel guilty, like maybe I should be
No,
more flexible.
don't feel guilty, and don't let your client tell you how to spend your time. You are the prize to be won. You are the problem solver. This is your business, right? So what I would say, I know that's very type A coming at you. So like you really need to think about if that client experience is starting to get a little frictiony, you need to think about the type of clients you're onboarding. Like for me at the very beginning, 16 years ago, every client was a good client. And I had some really scary experiences. Like I even had a client throw a broom at me once because they were so frustrated that their financials weren't good. It's like, it's your business. The food in your restaurant sucks. I can't make the financials look good, right? But I did. I had a broom thrown at me. I had a broom thrown at me. So maybe it's really hard in the beginning because you're bootstrapped and every client's a good client. You're just trying to bring money in to, pay for gas and milk. But you do need to think about that ideal client, and you never have to explain yourself. So if you work Tuesday to Thursday in their point of view, there's still time to be picked within that. Okay. How you run your business is your business, not somebody else's. That's your business. And even to well-mannered family members as well. I'm sure some of you have kind of rubbed up against that. But they mean well. That's the way I've come to look at it at the end. But think about the type of clients you're onboarding. If you're starting to get that friction, when you're ready, maybe it's time that client is better suited for someone else. But anywho, right now it's hard because you may be bootstrapped, right? But yeah, you never have to explain that to anybody. Yeah, so effective time blocking. Yeah, block the time off your calendar. So yeah, if it's your Monday to Fridays, it's the time you're working on your business and not in it. Good for you. Good for you. If it's Monday to Friday when you're doing your side hustle, and then Tuesday to Thursday you're doing something else, good for you. You're in business. You are the master of your own business. That master business license has your name on it, not somebody else's. Okay. So how you choose to block your time and use your time is your job. Don't let somebody else guilt you into making you think that you should be working 9 to 5 like every other person. Maybe you don't do that. I don't do well with 9 to 5s. I work very flexible, very free flowing because I need to work on a creative basis. I need to think about how problems are going to be solved. Okay. So Calendly is great. You can also use something like Microsoft Bookings. So like we're taking out that whole, is 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time okay for you? Because I deal with like Australia, the United Kingdom, like all different time zones, right? So it gets really annoying when you're emailing back and forth. At one point, I even hired a virtual assistant just to do that for me. And I realized that's dumb. That is really dumb because I can be using an app for that. So good for you for using Calendly. We're an Office 365 practice, so we use Microsoft Bookings, but you can use whatever makes sense. Just make sure you're also effectively using those tools, that you're not leaving it open for anybody to book, that you're creating time like, hey, maybe it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday afternoons, you're going to handle client calls. Okay. So that you can be in that space, that creative space to solve some of those other problems for your business. Okay. And for me, my max is three meetings a day. I do not do back-to-back meetings. 3 is actually a busy day for me because when I have a meeting, I'm in it. Like I'm involved. You're getting 150% of Jenny time. I am not that, okay, I got to get on to the next one. I'm going to be distracted. No, if I'm hosting the meeting, it's because we have determined mutually that it is required. We're not hosting the meeting because we need to fill time. Like when I was in corporate world, it seemed like it was death by meetings. Everything was meetings. It was like we had a meeting to figure out if it was 2-ply or 1-ply toilet paper. I swear we didn't, but you know what I mean, right? It was just ridiculous. We don't need all these meetings. What you need to do is just effectively communicate more, maybe outside of that, by having some really defined tasks and scope. Okay, so step 3 is to use the technology. So yeah, technology is best when it brings people together. So for me, technology, obviously time management is really important. I mean, I run a financial firm, right? So like we use different technology that may be not available to other industries. So like, but my entire casework for globally for my business is housed within a product called Carbon. And my team knows virtually that what they are expected to do because it's there, and I can update it here. Like I change the workflows regularly because we're either onboarding a new client, we're changing scope with a client. And it also helps my employees know that if they see something, like let's say ABC company is asked for some specialized work and it's not on their task list, their job is to contact me through Slack to say, Jenny, we may have some scope creep here. The client's asking me to do something that's not on my task list. In which I will go back and say to the client, I'm not going to shun them and shame them. We actually want our clients to go out of scope. I know it's really weird, but we will explain to them, okay, yeah, we can certainly do that. We need to change our engagement. We need to change how we're doing business for you. And we effectively do that well. So technology is a big one. We talked about bookings, Calendly. There's a couple other neat apps, and they all integrate into different types of products as well. So like for me, Microsoft Bookings integrates into Office 365 really well. Some of the brands I work with, Calendly works really well into like Google and the G Suite. So there's a lot of great options out there for scheduling. But the main thing you want to do is just make sure everyone is on track. So like I mentioned to you, everyone's on the same page when it comes to scheduling tasks. So I'll put a link out there for monday.com a little bit in a minute, but also things like how you're going to digitize your bookkeeping, your scope, and all that good stuff. So things like QuickBooks Online is really great. There's also Xero, there's FreshBooks. These are all really things that you can start right now when you're bootstrapped that make it so much easier for down the road. If you're looking to have somebody else come in, at least you've digitized your entire process and what your business is. So always look to technology to how you're going to make things replicatable to someone else to do at some point, but also to keep a record of what you've been doing. Because the last thing you want to do is going through filing cabinets. In fact, we had a celebration the last time, the very last filing cabinet we took out of our at that time it was a home office. I was ecstatic. I had a happy dance when the scrap metal guy came to pick it up. I didn't even want to sell it. I just wanted it gone. I'm like, take this thing and go. Because everything needs to be digitized. And it was just such an amazing day. And make sure that whatever technology that you're using is just as mobile as you are. So like things like QuickBooks Online for your bookkeeping or FreshBooks. Xero is maybe something you're not familiar with because it's heavy into Australia, but it's a really great product. And by the way, it starts with an X, not with a Z or a Z. But you want to make sure that everything's on that like mobile device, right? Like that you can easily like, oh yeah, there's this, right? So that you don't have to wait till I get back to the office or wait till I get back to the shop to handle it. At least there's some way that you can communicate with your team. Okay, so that was an older one. Sorry. So to leverage technology, like I said, there's a couple of things you can use. There's monday.com to organize your tasks. There's things like Asana. If you're doing like engagements, like you have to do contracts, PandaDoc is pretty good. And it's a great way, especially if you're bootstrapped and you just want to get going. What you don't want to do is have an open-ended agreement with a client. You want to make sure that everything you're doing has a contract with it, something written, because things can get out of scope really quickly, especially if you're not working, like if you're working on an hourly basis, that's cool. I still kick it old school once in a while, but most of my services and offerings are on a fixed fee basis. So if the client is asking for more, it really chews away at that profit margin. So just make sure that whatever you're doing is really refined and has a scope, that you don't just do this. Like somebody does interior design. I'm going to do interior design in your corporate office. Well, what happens if they like knock down a bunch of walls for a rental lease next door and then you got all these other places? Like, are you going to like do the design for that too? No, that's an out of scope item, right? So make sure you're really defined on exactly what you agree to do for a client, because that can easily eat up your time. Okay, as well as your profit margin. So QuickBooks Online's great for bookkeeping. Zoom, we're on Zoom right now. You obviously know how to use Zoom. For my team, they are virtual, so we use Slack for communications. We actually have Slack with some of our clients as well, especially the digital agency and the consultant clients. They're really big into Slack, and a lot of the brands I work with. So just make sure you're using technology as much as possible. Okay, so with that, I am going to like bring it back down to like a 4 and see what kind of questions you guys have, because I think it'd be kind of neat to chat.
So I'm just going to take the recording off. So if you don't feel like you want to be recorded, when you unmute yourself and ask questions, you're more than welcome to do so.